Hello, I'm Dr. Lisa College. Welcome to Culture by Neurodesign. There's been a lot of focus lately in the media about the natural fit of entrepreneurship with dyslexia, but today I want to take an alternative look at the relationship between entrepreneurship and neurodivergence, and we're going to focus on the connection with ADHD today. I'm really delighted to welcome Peter Shankman to the podcast to discuss that topic with me. Peter, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's start with you, Peter the person. Would you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. My name is Peter Shankman. I live in New York City. I am born and raised here. I'm what they call a boroughbred, someone who grew up in the city, not a transplant. I grew up in the 70s and 80s when ADHD or neurodivergence as a whole didn't really exist. What existed was, Peter, sit down, you're disrupting the class. And that was very, very frequent and very, very often. And was the start of pretty much every note that got sent home to my parents on a regular basis in school. When I managed to get through school and through university by the skin of my teeth, I had one job. My first and only real job out of school was I worked for America Online back when America Online was the internet, and everyone was very excited about getting on the internet back in the 90s. Worked there for about 3 years and had a wonderful time. And then I left AOL and figured that, wow, I had such a great time there and they let us work any way we wanted. I guess every company does that. And then I went to my second job as an associate editor of a magazine and realized that that was not true. We had 8 a.m. meetings and 8:30 a.m. check-ins and 9:15 a.m. conference calls and 11 a.m. meetings. And I'm like, oh my God, this is Russia. And I quit. I didn't realize that the way my brain worked did not allow me or hadn't prepared me to work in an office or corporate environment. I had just gotten lucky with my first job.
Right.
And so basically out of options, realizing I couldn't really go back to another job and had to figure out how to sort of make my life. I had all this experience from working at AOL and figured, hey, maybe there is a better way to live life. And I, unconventionally, with no experience, no entrepreneurship experience, wound up starting a PR firm that I started at the beginning of the dot-com boom back in the late 90s and built that to about, I think it was like 15 employees and sold it to a larger agency. And that's pretty much been the pattern. I started getting an idea, started without any idea what I'm doing, build it, grow it, sell it. I've done that 3 times. I am currently running 2 companies, so I'm a 5-time entrepreneur. In the middle of all that, I've written several books. I'm a talking head on most of the major international news networks. I have a couple of thousand or more keynote addresses under my belt to companies around the world. And yeah, and I'm also a single dad to a 12-year-old daughter. So I'm having a good time.
Wow. Peter, I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, just from listening to you talk and seeing you talk, right, the energy coming off you, that you are a very high energy person, and I would think that even if you hadn't just listed all of those, all of those achievements that you've notched up so far in your life, I know you're not done yet either. Do you think that energy level is that associated with ADHD? That's a common.
Absolutely. But there's an interesting point about the energy level. The energy level is great when you have it. Neurodivergence as a whole is one of those gifts that is very fickle. It's very finicky. It wants to help you, but there are certain rules that it plays by, and if you don't sort of play by those rules with it, you're going to have a bad time. The reason I have the energy and the reason I can focus on this conversation is, for me, because my day starts around 3:30 in the morning. I get up ridiculously early and exercise, whether it's lifting weights or getting on my Peloton for a couple of hours. This morning, I was on my bike for about 2.5 hours and did 45 miles, something like that. If I don't do that, I don't have the energy and I don't have the focus needed to produce. And so a lot of what comes across as energy is really hyper-focused, driven by the chemicals that people with ADHD lack, dopamine, serotonin, adrenaline, that we get in alternate ways. For a lot of people, those alternate ways could be medication, and that's totally fine. I'm not anti-med. I have a prescription. I just don't take it that often because I found other ways to get that energy and those chemicals. For me, it's exercise, it's public speaking, it's going on TV, it's skydiving, whatever that might be. So yeah, I'm a licensed skydiver with over 500 jumps, but
Wow.
that in itself is ADHD. Most people go skydiving, they do it once, they check it off their bucket list, and they move on with their lives. I did it once, got addicted, and now I'm a licensed with over 500 jumps.
Wow. So. Peter, I am going to live my life with 0 skydive. This is my goal. Skydiving is not for me. I mean, you've obviously found ways to make your ADHD into a benefit for you and into a benefit for all of the customers that you're servicing, right? But you said in passing when you started that your first experience maybe with your ADHD was that your teachers were quite negative about you, that you were disruptive in the class, and that was how all your reports started. I mean, that's a negative way to first start realizing, right, that your brain works differently for a young lad. How did you reframe all of that negativity into the positive Peter that we see now?
Correct. I mean, a couple of correct answers. The first answer is a lot of therapy. When you spend the first 20 years of your life being told by teachers that you're broken, it takes a lot of work to undo that. The reason that I talk about this so openly now and write books, adult books, kids books about neurodiversity is because I want to be able to, if I can prevent one 5-year-old from being told they're broken and instead embrace their different brain as a gift, then they don't have to spend the next 20 years out of school undoing all that damage. And so for me, it was tough. I mean, I still have severe imposter syndrome and severe issues with believing that all of my success was just luck, despite the fact that I have concrete proof that I've worked my ass off for it. I that comes in many ways. And I've been in therapy for as long as I remember, but at the end of the day, part of it also comes from you reach a point where you stop caring what other people think, and you're just going to live your life, right? And that is a great place to get to, but the goal really is to focus on improving yourself, whether it's through therapy or just action that you do. The key to anxiety, the key to releasing anxiety and removing anxiety has always been action, right? If you're sitting up at 3 a.m, I might wake up in a panic because what about the economy, and what if I wake up broke tomorrow, and all these things that probably aren't going to happen. And so rather than sit there and stare at the ceiling for 2 hours, I'm just going to get up. It's 3 a.m, fine, I'm up, let's get on the bike, right? And 30 minutes later, I've produced enough dopamine and sweat to push those feelings away and start focusing on better things, like how am I going to rock this day, or what am I going to do? And it doesn't always work, but it works more often than it doesn't, to sort of find action to remove the feelings of inadequacy or the feelings of fear or whatever they are.
Right. Okay. Action's obviously a really important mechanism for you to regulate your brain. Are there particular behaviors or features of environments that you find yourself in that help you to channel all your energy into productivity, or equally completely trash your day?
Absolutely.
Disrupt it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I work best in controlled environments, airplanes. I wrote my last full-size bestseller. I had a contract to write the book. I was given a year to write the book. I did all the research in the first month, completely forgot about everything for 11 months, and then had 2 weeks on deadline with nothing written. I booked a round trip to Tokyo from New York, left, got on the plane with my laptop, my power cord, a sweatshirt, and my headphones. I wrote chapters 1 through 5 on the flight out, landed, went to the lounge, had a Diet Pepsi, and took a shower. Got back on the same plane, same seat 3 hours later, and wrote chapters 6 through 10 on the flight home. It sounds crazy, but it was 29 hours of uninterrupted work. I told the flight attendants when I got on the plane, please just refill my glass, bring me more Diet Pepsi every time you see it's empty, and that's all I need from you. And leave me alone. And I gave them M&Ms. And then being on that plane, I was in hyper focus. There was no one texting me. There was no one calling me. There was no one knocking on my door to ask for information. It was pure deep work focus. And that is my happy place to do that. Now, I can't get on a plane every single day. So what I try to do is I try to minimize distractions in my life on a regular basis. And the way I do that, I have a series of what I call life rules. On days that I don't follow these life rules, my day's not as good as it could be. Those life rules include exercise, like I said, exercise first thing in the morning.
Right.
And it has to be first thing in the morning, because if it's any time later in the day, I will come up with a way in my brain to get out of it. Right. If I have to think about it, if I have time to think about it, right? Oh, you know, there's a new comet they discovered orbiting Pluto. Just to be safe, you know, I should go home and skip the gym. So you have to exercise. And then the second rule is eliminating choice. My closet is perfectly large for a New York City closet, and it has two sides to it, and the sides are labeled. The sides are labeled office/travel and speaking/TV. Office/travel is a t-shirt and jeans. Speaking/TV is a button-down shirt, jacket, and jeans. My suits, my vests, my sweaters, those are all in my daughter's closet. Because if I have to go in every morning and look at the closet and say, okay, what should I wear today? Oh my God, that sweater. I haven't looked at that sweater in years. Laura gave me that sweater. God, I wonder how she's doing. I should look her up. It's 3 hours later. I'm naked in the living room on Facebook, and I haven't left the house. Right? But if I know, if Siri or whoever calls out my calendar to me at 6 a.m. when I get out of the shower and says, hey, Peter, you have 3 meetings today, and 2 are by Zoom and 1 is downtown. Okay, t-shirt and jeans. I grab the first t-shirt on the pile. I grab the first set of jeans on the pile. I put them on. I'm done. I don't have to think about it.
Right.
So things like that. It's creating these sort of ways of living. Again, I'm not perfect. I don't do this perfectly all the time. I do screw up. When I screw up, though, I try to minimize the damage. You'll find that a lot of leaders have something where they play the tape forward. Okay, I skipped a day at the gym, or I skipped a workout. Well, it's the next day now. Should I already skipped the workout, which means that I know I didn't eat as healthy already. Should I, because, you know, if I skip the workout, I can justify ordering that pizza, you know. Okay, so the next day, should I skip the workout again? Well, let's play the tape forward 12 hours. It's 12 hours later. I haven't done the workout. This is 2 days of eating like crap. Now I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to be retaining a ton of water. My clothes are going to be tighter. Nothing's going to feel good. I'm going to be angry at myself. I'm not going to be as productive. What am I going to have to do to back it? Okay, now it's 3 days. Now it's even worse. So the key is to understand how you're going to be in 12 hours from now or 24 hours from now. Is it worth it, or should you just get your ass out of bed and do the exercise or make the call or do whatever it is you have to do, so you don't see a lesser version of yourself in 24 hours. The same thing applies at night. I go to bed very early, like I said, because I'm up at 3:30 in the morning. So there have been times when I get asked, hey, you want to go out, have a drink? You want to go to... Let's analyze that. Most neurodivergents, especially neurodiverse ADHD, ADD, things like that, have 2 speeds, and 2 speeds only, and those speeds are namaste and I'll cut a bitch. There is literally no middle ground there. Right? So I don't know how to moderate, and I have accepted that and made peace with that. I don't know how to moderate. And so because I don't know how to moderate, I don't drink anymore. When I used to drink, I would drink very rarely, but on those times that I did drink, I wouldn't have one drink. I would have several drinks.
Right.
And I wasn't trying to get drunk. I wasn't going out and pillaging a village or anything like that, but I'd have 3 or 4 or 5 drinks. I'd come home. I'd sleep. I'd get to sleep later. I would wake up later. I'd wake up dehydrated. Well, if I'm dehydrated, it's from all the alcohol. I should order in breakfast, and I'll get like 2 grilled cheese and tomato with bacon sandwiches to suck up all the grease. Well, if I've already ordered that crap, I might as well eat like shit for the rest of the day. Okay, now again, it's that cycle. Yeah. Right. So a lot of people who are neurodiverse, and a lot of CEOs do this as well, whether they're neurodiverse or not, they learn to figure out what's that first off the rails moment, and they avoid that. And I think once I figured that out, the best of my ability, became a lot easier, because you don't have to make snap decisions to try and fix things if you don't have those things to fix in the first place. Yeah.
It's fascinating, I think. Yeah, my son, he's autistic. I mean, he also has this on and off. It's not energy levels with him, it's focus levels. He's either completely fascinated by something and dive into it for hours and hours, or just doesn't care.
And
there's nothing in the middle, absolutely
what's
nothing.
What's amazing about that is how it affects every aspect of our lives. It's not just that we're fascinated by trains, right? And we have to go see every new train and go to every track and but it's something, as I call it, the pizza effect, because it's something as basic as pizza. My daughter, who's 12 now, back when she was like 3 or 4, we're in New York City. There's a pizza. You have to love New York. You have to love pizza to live here. It's required by law. So I got her into pizza as soon as she could eat solid food, and we would go, to the pizza place, and we'd have a slice, whatever. As we get older, she got older. Now she was 4 or 5. We would order. Sometimes we'd order a pizza. And when we ordered a pizza, the daughter would have a slice, and daddy would have the rest of the pizza. Right? It wasn't. There are people out there who have something in their lives called leftover pizza. I have never in my life had leftover pizza. That's just not a thing. And what I've discovered is leftover pizza isn't a thing, just like leftover wine isn't a thing. So it is better to not have it. So Jesse, you want pizza? Great. We'll walk to the pizza place. We'll each order a slice or two, and we'll eat it there, and we will come home. Right? And so there's a wonderful line from the 1983 thriller War Games with Matthew Broderick, right. That the computer discovers nuclear war and how to avoid it. And he says the only winning move is not to play.
Pretty profound.
Sometimes it's better not to play.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, I've been listening to you talking about how all of these tricks that you've learned to regulate your brain, right? So it becomes more of a positive than a negative. And I mean, it's fascinating, right? That you're controlling your environment to remove distraction. If I make a huge generalization, right? There was nothing in particular about the plane, was there? It was the fact that you didn't have
the environment, exactly.
And there was nothing in particular about the wardrobe. It's the fact that you didn't have the other lot of clothes. That's something that obviously helps you to get into a flow state when you do. Well, you apparently do extremely good work. You've launched 3 companies and sold 3. Yeah.
I think what it comes down to is knowing your weaknesses and limitations, mm-hmm. and setting yourself up in the best way to take advantage of your positives and your abilities.
Right.
And sort of knowing where those are, and again, growing up, schools weren't, and in a lot of ways still are not, designed to differentiate for people who are different versus the typical. The reason that schools still seat people in rooms and classrooms in desk by desk order is because 100 years ago, with one room schoolhouses, that's how they did it, to fit as many people in as possible. Well, we're learning now that doesn't necessarily work.
It doesn't, and it
works better if they're outdoors or whatever. So yeah, it really is about understanding that not all the old habits are still the best habits.
Right. I mean, what you're talking about isn't by any means unique to neurodivergent people, right? Recognizing your own style and how to get the best out of yourself is something which we should all do. But let's stick with the neurodivergent angle, and let's turn to focus on neurodivergence and entrepreneurialism. I mean, you've talked about some traits that you have, like your high energy and like your brilliant ability to focus if you're in the right conditions, that we both know are really handy if you're an entrepreneur. Are there other traits that you associate with your ADHD that are particularly helpful for being an entrepreneur?
The concept of being able to think differently, of being able to think in a non-traditional way. I come up with ideas sometimes that most people think are absolutely insane, but somehow they work, because when you're neurodiverse, there's a lot of, again, it goes back to that not caring what other people think. It's sort of like, let's see what happens. One of my favorite terms in the whole world is, well, let's see what happens. I wanted to see what happens. Yeah. Now, when I was 7 years old and I decided to shave the family cat to see what happens, I was quickly rebuked by my mother, who screamed to me, "Nothing good happens when you shave the cat." But when I decided that there is a place to create a connection between journalists and sources around the world, that became one company that blew up, and I sold it and did very well, and then started a similar one after after that one shut down 15 years after I sold it. And now I run something called Source of Sources, which is a free service that connects journalists with sources around the world. And it is blowing up again because there's still a need. So understanding that, hey, we can do something great. Why not?
Yeah. And how do you, so you have all these ideas, right? Loads and loads of ideas. How do you keep yourself focused on them long enough to actually make them into a business or into something, or to decide maybe that there's nothing here and I shouldn't bother?
I wish I could give you a formula, but essentially it comes down to me starting something and writing it down. And if I keep going back to it and keep adding stuff to it, and if it keeps getting stuck in my head, it sort of forces me to say, okay, you have to address this.
Right.
And sometimes that might delay it, but it has to, if I could, I've had an idea in my head for 15 years now that I've never acted on. That tells me it's not that important. But there are others that I have that don't go away. And it's sort of like that trigger in the back of your head says, okay, you got to do this.
Yeah. And are you someone who's good at executing your ideas? Once you've filtered them out and you said, yeah, okay, these are the ones that have got legs, these are the ones that are going to go. Can you execute? Or?
It's a great question. I'm great at executing them. I am not so great at the follow-up. So I'm great at starting an idea and blowing it up and seeing how it goes and yeah, let's do this, and then building it until it's running. But once you do that, it becomes slightly monotonous because then you're doing a lot of the same thing in repetition, and it becomes less about the excitement of building it, more about the maintenance and the maintaining. And that is not necessarily someone with ADHD's favorite part, because a lot of that becomes boring, right? I remember when I built the first company, before I sold it, it was becoming quickly about, I had employees, and it was about payroll and healthcare and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That was not exciting at all, right? So you have two choices. You hire someone who does all that, right? Or you sell it. And every company I've sold, I probably could have kept going for another 10 years and sold it at 50 times X, but it would have been a miserable 10 years.
Right.
Know thyself.
So are you selling then rather than bringing somebody in?
I'm building them to a certain extent, but the next level of building them would require a level of focus / commitment that I don't know that I'm great at. I could hire people and take a step back and become sort of like someone who doesn't really do that, but I don't want to do that. If it's my baby, I want it to be my baby until it's no longer my baby.
Yeah.
So it comes down to wanting to do something and be very aware of it, do it well. And when you feel like it's not fun anymore, you're not doing it that way. Not that it's not fun anymore, because whatever you do for a living is going to come down to, there's going to be days when it's not fun. I'm talking about when it's consistently, when it's been months or whatever, and you're not having a good time. Right? You'll know when you get to that point, maybe it's time to look at what you're doing. But everyone's going to have bad days. That goes without saying.
Indeed. And I'm wondering, because you're obviously someone who knows yourself very well, and you know how to get the best out of yourself. Do you have tricks to keep tweaking or revolving that good baseline that you started off with, to keep yourself interested for a bit longer before it just gets too monotonous?
Yeah. I mean, I will up my dopamine intake. I might shuffle up where I work from, how I work, what I'm doing. Different places, different locations. But again, it really comes down to knowing yourself and knowing that you can fool. When you're ADHD, you have an ability to fool a lot of people, right? You're really good at what they say, faking it till you make it type thing. But the one person you can never fool is yourself. You're too smart to fool yourself. And so only you will know if you're really enjoying this or really doing this to the best of your ability, or if you are if you should be looking for something else because you're wasting your talents or you're wasting your time. I don't want to run a company that's only mid, right? I want to blow it out of the water, and you have to understand that if there's times when you can't do that, it's time to maybe it's time to step aside.
Interesting. Can we go back to those couple of companies that you worked in when you started out your career?
The
first one, positive experience. The second one, not so.
Right.
I'm really interested in. Sorry, go on.
The first one let us work at AOL. They let us work any way we wanted.
Right.
We wanted to come in and do our work at 3 a.m. No problem at all. Go do it. Right. You want to work from the Boreal Forest as long as you have connections? Sure, go for it. They were very, very ahead of their time. You look at, after I left there, we didn't see remote work until COVID in general.
Right.
So I was able to work. Oh, great. At that point, I was not an early riser. I was very much a late riser. I'd be getting to work at 8 p.m. and work until 8 a.m. and having a blast.
Yeah. And are there, beyond letting you work, when you felt like it and where you felt like it, were there other features of the leadership that helped you or hindered you?
I feel like they listened to us. They let us offer ideas, offer opinions. Right. We were building a new company, so there was none of that, oh, that's just the way we've always done it mentality, because it never existed before. Right? AOL was literally brand new. So we were very fortunate. We had mentors there, but we were certainly allowed to throw out our opinions. They didn't look at us as, oh, you're just out of school, shut up.
Yeah. So it was a kind of entrepreneurial spirit, not in a one person.
Exactly.
Spirit. It was still the same spirit. And then in that second company that you worked in where it didn't go so well, was that more corporate, structured?
I don't know the corporate, but I think it was very much old school. They were more focused on the way we've always done things.
Right.
So that made it a little difficult.
Right. Well, that's interesting. So there's no reason why an established company, a larger company, wouldn't be able to inject some of that entrepreneurial spirit into their culture. Then in that
right, assuming they knew what they were doing, no question about it.
Yeah, and that would certainly help. That would attract people like you, I guess, and also help people like you to work while you're there. Huh. Interesting. Do you have? If a company is thinking about taking a step in that direction, or maybe doing a little experiment in that direction, just to see what will happen, do you have a suggestion for them, or advice for them about what to do or what to avoid?
I think a lot of it might be just to stop. Take whatever advice you get, but be wary of who gives it to you. Try things in whatever way works, but make sure that you are listening to your heart, listening to your voice, listening to the brain that got you to this point.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like something's not working, there's probably a reason it isn't. Right. And don't be afraid to make those switches. The worst thing that happens, it doesn't work that way, and you change back.
Yeah.
I've yet to meet a business that makes a switch so badly that they can't recover. There's occasional big examples of that, but it's rare.
Right. And I always think, like, if you're going to ask your employees, your staff, and involve them as well and get them to help, that makes everything much more risk-free. You're involving people in shaping their own culture.
No question about it.
Yeah, for sure. Peter, this has been really interesting discussion. Thanks so much. Do you have any last words of advice or last observations, last recommendations for our listeners?
The corporate highway, or the enterprise highway, is littered with skeletons of people who didn't take the opportunity because they were afraid of it not working or afraid of what other people would think. And that's a shame. Right? Don't become roadkill. Go for it. Try it. What's the worst that can happen? Doesn't work, you do something else.
Indeed. Don't become roadkill. That's a great way to end the episode. Thanks so much for your time, Peter. I appreciate it.
Pleasure was mine.
Great.